pays to look at your material. There's nothing worse than having something caterpillar eaten or whatever in your design. I'm just going to put that in there for a little bit more contrast. Again, I'm cutting into the pieces, just stripping off anything that is going into the water, because that will help your flowers last longer if there's nothing actually in the water, like leaves that are going to start rotting. One, they smell, and the other thing is they reduce the shelf life on everything, really. Just taking out the odd dead bits and putting some more in. And because I've got the sellotape lattice there, basically as I put stuff in, it's all staying where I'm putting it, rather than if I didn't have that lattice there, especially if it was a longer container as well, it would just be all over the place. So, some nice, just looking for the bits, and then we've got a long bit going out the top there, which is not really doing anything. So once again, I'll just cut it back and pop it in. I do have to find the spots between the sellotape, of course. Let me trim that away. I was very conscious of making sure that I had everything on mat. So I'm standing on a mat because I'm on a wooden floor, and it was echoing through when Michael and I did our first test. Nothing says Christmas quite like Christmas baubles. What I've done with these is I've glued them onto satay sticks, and they're quite good. You could use them at this length of satay stick in a bouquet to add something, or otherwise with these I'm actually going to cut them down and just pop them in. Maybe group a couple of them together. And because this is going onto a table, and I'm assuming it's going into the centre of a table where people are going to be sitting all around it, you want to make sure as you're putting things together that it has interest from all around. Just take that one down a little bit lower. Now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to throw out my ends of my satay sticks. I'm actually going to throw them in my toolbox, because you never know when you can use them. If you're trying to arrange into oasis and you're using something like daffodils or arum lilies or anything like that that have the very soft stem, what you can do is you can actually stick one of these up the stem and then use that to go into your floral oasis, and it'll actually make it a stronger hold. Just pop those away. Now, we could really almost leave it there. Something very easy, very quick, as you can see. It didn't take me very long to put that together. Or we could actually elevate it a little bit. So I've got a glass vase here. I'm notorious for going into op shops or any sort of shop and seeing something and looking at it going, oh yeah, I like that, and then turning it upside down and going, oh yeah, I could do something with that. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to elevate the design. So we've got something very nice, very easy, very achievable, especially with all the lovely camellias that are out at the moment. But I'm going to see if I can take it next level. So come with me on my journey. So putting it upside down and popping it on there. Ta-da! Already, I think the design looks much more impressive. Basically, whenever you lift or elevate a design, you pretty much instantly get something that looks a little bit more impressive. But what I'm now seeing is I'm seeing a lot of this container here, which I don't really want to see. So what I'm doing to fix that is on one of my necessary outings yesterday, doing a school run because I'm not letting Brianna catch the train. But there is an advantage. She is getting out quite a few hours on her learner's permit. So I guess, as they say, there's always a silver lining. So she goes to Corfu Grammar, which means that I need to go along the back of the old ABC studios, which backs onto Ripponlea. The fence at the back of Ripponlea is actually covered in this creeper. It's Muhlenbeckia, or I think some people call it maidenhair vine as well. And so I just jumped out of the car with my mask on yesterday and did a little bit of judicious pruning. And I've had that sitting in water overnight. I pulled it out this morning and just popped it into a tea towel. So that tea towel is actually quite damp, so it's been keeping it quite fresh. So it will start to die off, but I'm not going to be too worried about that. And what I want to do is I want to sit it there on the container, but also mask this container a little bit. And how I'm going to do that, is that sitting there not too badly, I'm going to use a product that I love, and it's called Vine Tie, or paper covered wire. You can get it at Oasis. It is an Oasis product, who do a lot of floral supplies, not just the green Oasis. And you can get it from APAC, which I think a few of you people have been to. It's a fairyland for people that are a little bit crafty. There's lots of lovely glass containers, everything you could want for a florist shop, basically. And you can just go in there and they don't really mind people. You just say, look, I'm a hobby floral artist, so I need to buy some supplies, and away you go. So what I'll do, just to make sure it doesn't go away, is I'm just going to wind some wire around there, neaten it off. And because it is the colour of the vine pretty much, you can't really see it. And then I'm going to wire it off to my trusty sellotape in here. If I can get in and not hurt myself too much on those hollies. And that'll just make sure that it doesn't disappear. Now guys, I feel a little bit like the AFL players playing without a crowd.
We're here and listening.
Good, because it's awfully silent out there, Debbie. So I'm just going to find that piece of sellotape in there again. The only thing with using sellotape is that when you put it on your container, make sure you stretch it nice and tight, because it does give. Now, let me put my glasses back on so I can see how we're going here. It's not really covering what I wanted it to do, but it is at least making that less dominant. And it's giving me a little bit of movement as well. So, and I quite like that. I'll move those over, just move them. So again, I think we've just given it a bit of zhuzh, made it a little bit nicer. Then the other thing that Christine was very kind, and she must have spent a good hour, I reckon, picking, was she picked me some of her beautiful Garrea elliptica. The only problem is it is past its best. Nice pale green, you can see a few, you actually can't, which is good. It's beautiful, it's in perfect condition. Not from here. It's starting to actually go quite black and not so pretty. But anyway, I think in most screens it will look like it's in perfect condition. And what I'm going to do is, hopefully this worked for me. Again, because I've got the tape in there, it's just going to hold that. So you'd have to think about where you were going to put this design if you're going to have it as your centerpiece on your table, because you don't want people trying to talk through the forest. But you could have it to the side of the table, you could have it in the entranceway. And I just had to use the material. So what I'm doing, now as you can see, the centre of the arrangement is kind of here, which you would think, and I've got quite a bit of weight going that way now, although it's quite soft, with the branches I've just put in. So just to make sure that it doesn't look to the eye that it's unbalanced, I'm going to put some more red on this side. And I'm going to bring them up just a little bit higher. Oh, I think the ones I've left here are not very happy anymore. But anyway, I'm just adding, and I hope you can see by adding a bit more weight in terms of colour here, I've balanced the whole thing out. Oh, I've got one more here I can use. Oh, I love this video thing. Makes these flowers look absolutely magnificent, whereas unfortunately they've got quite a bit of damage on them. But there we go. Okay, actually see that from that side. So there we go. I think that is my first little design for you all. So something that I think looks quite impressive, but I'm sure that all of you would have something in the home that you could use to recreate something like that. So maybe we'll unmute everyone. Thank you, Christine. And just ask a few questions if you like. I've got another design piece to show you as well. I thought I'd set myself an ISO challenge and take just a bunch of supermarket flowers and see if I can make something a little bit better. So, any questions from anybody?
Deb, it's Gillian.
Yes, Gillian.
If you wanted to add some height but didn't want it up high, for example, if you had children and you were worried they were going to knock it off, do you ever put candles in the arrangement? And if they're like tapers or whatever, how do you get them to stay?
Okay, in an arrangement like this, I didn't actually bring any candles, and I don't think I've got any here. What I would potentially do is, depending on the size of them, is you could actually probably mount the wax on the bottom of the candle onto the bottom of the container and stick it, because then if you add water, that's not going to affect how it sticks to the container. Again, you could use something like plasticine, or we have a product that's basically just super strength plasticine called Floral Stick, which you could again use to stick it to the bottom of the container in this. If you were using Oasis, candles pretty much just ram into there, and as long as you've got it in the right place to start with, it should stay. With candles, you've just got to make sure that if they burn down, or when and as they burn down, they're not going to set fire to anything. And if you use a candle in a presentation piece, it cannot have been used before. So the wick needs to be virgin, and it needs to be neatly trimmed and exactly upright. Or otherwise, it's a big no-no in the floral art judging world, apparently. I've quite got caught up on that. I'm sure you'd lose a couple of points, but it seems to be something that everybody always looks at with candles because people have been caught out.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions from anybody? It really is like a grand final without the crowd, I tell you. Okay, let me just take this over and out of the way.